What is good, everybody? We are mad mocking after dark yet again. Back to you with another live mock. This time it is the Warrior Bowl live. We have some invites to give away tonight. Thank you to the Warrior Bowl for giving us those, two of those to be specific. Tonight I got my co-host Kyle. How
Okay.
are we tonight, sir?
I'm great. How are you?
I am doing good. I'm doing good. This will be your first. This will be your first Warrior Bowl mock, let alone your first Warrior Bowl ever. Are you ready to do this with everything that's going on with with the changes from Scott Fishbowl to this?
I think so. Yeah, I'm ready to rock.
Hey, I gave you like 4.5, 5 hours of study time, so I hope you use that wisely tonight.
Oh, we'll find out.
Nate Markham is in the house tonight. Nate Markham, how are you, sir?
Good, man. Always, I'm always happy to mock before dark or after dark.
Before, after, you don't care if the sun's up or the moon's up. You just Nate Markham is like, you know what? There's a mock. Okay, I'm in.
I am in most of the times.
That's right. That's right. And the big boss man with us, Jorge B. Edwards, over there on Twitter. How are you tonight, sir?
I am doing fantastic. I am running the chat here on YouTube, so can't wait to start talking to people in the chat. Chat's already blowing up. I know we're doing Warrior Bowl stuff tonight, but I just wanted to give our own Tyler Heil a ton of credit. He's been compiling all of our Scott Fishbowl ADP data from the over 100 mock drafts we've done so far. Shout out to somebody over on our Fantasy and Frames account who let us know that, hey, there is a problem with the ADP. We addressed it. We took care of it. Tyler took care of it today. Everything is up and running 100% over at fantasyandframes.com. So as soon as you get to the homepage, you'll see a little tab that says Scott Fishbowl ADP. Go there, and you'll be able to sort through all your favorite players, see where they're going, all the Scott Fishbowl mock drafts that we've done. I told you we're already over 120 mock drafts on the past 3 weeks, coming on a month now. So it's ridiculous. Gator J, testament to you, man, putting all these mock drafts together and including this one tonight. This should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and like I told the guys in the chat earlier with the mock chat, we're going to do a couple more Warrior Bowls over the next couple weeks. Here's the thing, though, is Scott Fishbowl, the slow drafts start in 2 weeks. So if you're not in, mocking with us, mock with somebody, please get out there and mock, because that's what it's all about. Get to know the crowd, both in Scott Fishbowl and in Warrior Bowl. This is all about charity at the end of the day. So I'm going to go ahead and get this mock started right here. We have 1, 2, 3, 4. We have 6 people in the mock tonight that are looking to gather up a Warrior Bowl invite. We'll see how that works out for them. But I'm going to go ahead and get this mock started. And Drop the Mic is not one that is eligible to win tonight. He already has his invite, but he is now on the clock. Nate, can you mute that sound, please? Because I know it's you.
I had to check just now too, like, oh, was it me again? But I realized earlier I went ahead and muted it.
That's right. That's right. That's right. So, Nate, you're at the 10 spot. I'm at the 9. Jorge, you're at the 6. And Kyle, you're at the 4. So I'm going to send the first question to Nate. Okay. Let us get through this. Nate, what are the biggest differences between SFB and this Warrior Bowl, other than, the Warrior Bowl has the negative scoring that Scott had last year? What's the biggest differences from that?
I mean, I think that's it, honestly. I mean, the negative scoring takes some of the quarterback value. I mean, the gap in itself, all quarterbacks are affected when you incorporate interceptions being -4, pick sixes are -2. I think the sack -1 can jumble up a couple of the quarterbacks. We talked about this earlier. Someone like a Justin Fields, who had 55 sacks last year, I think 80 plus over the last 2 years combined, can take a pretty significant hit. The thing is that's based off of last year's offensive line. So something to keep in mind, to pay attention there. 4-point passing touchdown versus a 6-point passing touchdown. Again, when you're looking at two quarterbacks later on, maybe as your QB2 and you're deciding between someone like I won't even start giving names. I don't want to make an impression on anybody's, but imagine a run first quarterback or one that may have some rushing touchdown upside versus a passing, and maybe that might make the separation. And then, kickers, the point scoring there could be a little bit different, less likely you'll incorporate kickers into your flex. I think those are probably the most noticeable differences.
Yeah, I think one of the other noticeable differences is everything with the Warrior Bowl is done on Sleeper. There is no other platform.
Sure.
So you won't be able to flex kickers as you just brought up there.
Oh, you're right. Yeah, my bad.
Everything is done on, and there is a third round reversal, Mike. Yes, there is. Drop the mic. There is a third round reversal in Warrior Bowl as well. So the draft process is exactly the same. The interceptions for me is the one that I'm just like, oh my goodness, do I go ahead and take a top 12, top 15 quarterback right here, or do I just stay with something that I know I'm going to get basically a PPR scoring with, and that's going to be Jamar Chase, and I think that's where I'm going to go here. I'm going to leave Nate Travis Kelce, which is I think going to be something that you're going to see the biggest difference when it comes to ADP from Scott Fish to the Warrior Bowl is Travis Kelce is not going to go in that top 3, top 4. He's going to end up falling a little bit further down the road, even though there is that 1.5 point bonus for, the 1.5 premium there for tight ends. Jorge, what have you noticed? I gave you the scoring earlier. Real quick update on that. What was the one thing that stood out to you in this scoring?
So one of the things that I think is kind of interesting compared to a Scott Fishbowl is it kind of, especially for like the rushing component where we have a rushing attempts 0.1 points, rushing first downs 0.5 points. It kind of lends itself to some of the players that we've been calling quote unquote boring in certain early rounds of a draft that we were normally targeting in the later rounds. Let me give you an example. Najee Harris, right? Kind of, when we look at his advanced metrics, he's not the most elusive, not really efficient in certain areas, but he benefits a lot from volume. So these volume-based running backs that just keep getting the attempts, keep getting the first downs, I think you're going to see a lot of them in the earlier rounds of this draft than you would have in a Scott Fish Bowl where there's so much emphasis on receiving. Now, granted, the tiered receptions that we're seeing here in Warrior Bowl with the running backs, with the wide receivers, with the tight ends, that's still going to make these attractive picks at the receiving positions. But like I said, I think you're going to see a bump in these running backs that just are plotters that just get tons of volume.
Yeah, I want to ask Kyle a question, but there is a question in the chat from Stat Guru. And the answer, I think, is yes. We are going to announce those tonight. Jorge is going to be the one to tell me to pause the draft whenever he wants to do something special about that. So those will be done here very, very shortly. My advice to everybody that is watching is if you do not have an invite already from the Warrior Bowl, make sure, first of all, that you have applied to the Warrior Bowl and make sure you're active in the chat. Jorge is looking for people active in the chat.
Yeah. So just to piggyback off that for a bit, we are like about to be 9 minutes into the show. So it's going to be a while until we announce the first one. But when we do I'm going to put out a question on the show, and whoever has the fastest fingers to type the response
spelled correctly.
Well, we can do without that. We'll get a Warrior Bowl invite. How we do the second one, we'll figure out as the show goes on. But it's going to be a trivia question, throwing it in the chat here, as well as on the live stream if you're watching. And again, the first person to respond with the right answer, it could be football related, but let's face it, I think a lot of you out there, you've been watching a lot of the Fantasy and Frames content for some time. You will definitely get the reference. So really, it's not fair, but the first person to type it up correctly gets a Warrior Bowl invite. And I'll leave it at that.
I mean, I boss is the boss is the boss. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Patience 37 in the mock chat says, crap, I don't have a channel to join the YouTube chat. I'm gonna call BS on that because I dropped the channel. I dropped the link in the group chat up there. So it's there. It's there. Go right ahead. All right, Kyle, you're coming up on the clock here. What's the thought process going this 2-9, knowing you're not going to have another pick for a full round there is with this third round reversal?
Ooh, you just put the pressure on me because I did forget about that because I am new. I am new to this Warrior Bowl. This is the first time I even ever mocked. But coming into this, I looked at the scoring and I looked at it very, very similar to Scott Fishbowl. There are some minor differences with the negatives by a quarterback and this and that. But for the most part, I would say 90% is Scott Fishbowl. You add in a couple of, you also didn't touch on the punt return and return yards. Those are also added. So I was going to actually flip it over to you guys and ask you, does that bump up Tyreek Hill a little bit or not really at all?
Well, I mean, Nate, how much is Tyreek Hill, returning the ball right now? I don't think he's returning.
That is true. He's not really doing it as much, but I was under pressure here with my picks. I wanted to get that out.
I think it's a fair question to pay attention to. I think that we're seeing those numbers. I think teams are being a little more selective on who they have return kicks. So I'm trying to think who the most likely scenario, and if I wasn't going to be up in just a second here, I would probably jump over. Again, I think it's probably more of a separator between that wide receiver 3 or maybe even a late round running back that might have return eligibility, especially in a bye week replacement. Probably not an every week starter, but that guy that when you're really in a pinch, week 13, week 10, those 2 shit weeks that are just filled, I think will probably be the ones that it might have an advantage. I gotta tell you, I gotta find even where to pull up return stats on a speedy turnaround, and I am not doing that right now. So I'm just gonna go back to focusing on what I wanted to do, which is not. Yeah, well, I really hated taking Dak there.
Let me flip this question then real quick. What do you think? Like, somebody like a Tank Bigsby, something like that, or the rookie running back, like you just brought up, the running back that to get on the field could possibly see some of the return yardage there, Jorge.
It's possible, but going back to what you were saying about bumping Tyreek Hill, I think Tyreek's done enough bumping this past weekend. If you get what I'm saying.
This bumping, right? This bumping.
Yeah, exactly. I could see that in the later rounds. You wanted to go get again attempts, and then you have to think about where these attempts are going to be coming from. Like I anticipate Jacksonville's offense by the time that Tank Bigsby becomes relevant, which is probably going to be the latter half of the season, is going to be the Jaguars offense as a whole will be firing on all cylinders. And so you're going to be seeing a lot of these attempts closer to the goal line or within scoring position, especially in the red zone for Tank Bigsby. I saw the report yesterday that the running backs coach is like, oh, Travis Etienne's going to get a lot more explosive plays. Cool. That does not necessarily translate into red zone opportunities. That just means he's going to get a lot of more explosive plays for yardage. I still think Tank Bigsby is going to turn out to be a steal for those who got him in rookie drafts this year. But to answer your question, I could see a rookie running back like Tank Bigsby paying dividends for people.
Yeah, I think it paid off in Minnesota with I'm going to say it completely wrong, but Nguanu.
Kenny Nguanu?
Yes, with the
Nguanu.
So or Nguanu, yes. So with the return yards, that's what made me think of the bringing in a rookie,
yeah,
as that punt returner, even kick returner, whatnot. So
here's an interesting one. Last year, depending upon if Cleveland keeps, is Jerome Ford move up, 2 or 3 rounds potentially. He's already a kind of a late, I would say, sleeper, but he's becoming a favorite, knowing that he's most likely to serve that Kareem Hunt role. Hell, even last year, I know it was before he took over, Isaiah Pacheco had 597 kickoff return yards. So,
wow.
I mean, I don't expect that to continue, but that wouldn't shock me. Maybe you see someone they showed, like last year, Antonio Gibson had 486. who else was someone that was of importance, really, from the kickoff return? Pardon me?
I should have known. Jamie's in the chat. He's over here. All Cleveland Browns. Jerome Ford. You brought up Jerome Ford. Now Jamie will be here all night.
Well, yeah, he got his Scott Fishbowl invite, so I think he's indebted to put in at least 6 hours a week with us. And is Tyler in this? No.
Yeah. You're welcome for that last week, Jamie. I thought that was pretty damn awesome. If y'all didn't see that, when Ryan McDowell was on last week with us with our 100th mock for Scott Fishbowl, Jamie was in the chat and all of a sudden got a big old surprise where Ryan McDowell said, "Well, Jamie, you are now in the Scott Fishbowl," and I thought that was pretty damn awesome. So congratulations again, Jamie, for that. All right, Jorge.
Yes, sir.
You stacked up Herbert. You stacked up,
Gino. Yeah. So my thought process here is I want safe for quarterback. If I was getting a Mahomes, Hurts, an Allen, hell, even a Lamar, who again, efficient and not expecting a lot of passing attempts, regardless of Monken being there or not. I still think they don't, if it's not broke, don't fix it. Although it kind of is broke because he's getting hurt right every other year. That being the case, when I looked at Herbert, when I looked at Geno Smith, these guys were in the top 10 in completion percentage. You get those negative points for the interceptions thrown, for the pick sixes. I wanted guys at the quarterback positions that I know could be stable fixtures in my offense, that I wouldn't have to worry too much about these negative points coming back and haunting me.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I wish you would have passed on them so that it got back to me. But I mean, your logic is good.
Your logic is undeniable. That is not the quote. That's not the quote from the movie. Chill out, folks. That's coming though.
Kyle, what do you got going on over there? You got Josh Allen, Austin Eckler, TJ Hockenson, and Kirk Cousins. Loving that Minnesota stack right there. What's the thought process right now with what you have in your bag?
Yeah, so I was thinking, okay, quarterback 2, like Jorge say, let me go with safe upside. Kirk Cousins, that's exactly who he is. I also saw on the scoring, you want, in my opinion, a guy who's going to have a high completion rate as well. So Kirk Cousins throws around 65, 66%, 4,500 yards passing last year, 29 touchdowns. I'm going to take that with TJ Hockenson and rock out with that for a while.
Yeah, I don't hate that. I'm on the clock right now, and I got Nate right behind me. He's got 2 quarterbacks. Stat Guru is right behind him with 2 quarterbacks, but Chef does not have a quarterback yet. I really want to pass on a quarterback one more round, but I don't know that I can, to be quite honest, just because of the way it's laid out right here. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and stack one right here. I'm going to take a little bit of rushing upside. I think with Darren Waller in town, it's going to be a little bit better of a, completion percentage. I'm hoping that the interceptions go down a little bit, and I'm going to take Daniel Jones right here. Nate Markham, you're on the clock. Got about 50 seconds.
Yeah.
What do you got going on in your head?
I mean, just going back to one of the areas with this, and when we talked about differences between this and Scott Fish, is that I needed to go back to last year's Scott Fish because the completion percentage and the interceptions, as I'm doing the math a little bit, I think I've reassessed, and I have Dak and Tua both just down a little bit further. Kind of maybe I would have been better off just waiting and grabbing one of the more elite wide receivers. I hate starting off my team, especially when you're starting 3 in this, for me, second tier. But that's what I'll do. I'll take, I think, a first down gainer, someone that stable, boring, call them what you will, but I feel about as secure as I can of anybody in this tier right here to deliver, consistent production.
Yeah, I think as long as he stays on the field, his floor is pretty set, right?
Yeah, and in these tournament formats like this, especially of this size, you kind of have to shoot the moon a little bit. But I want to talk to you guys about, we talked earlier about particular quarterback and Anthony Richardson, who just went at the 5-1. And in this format, I said earlier, I thought the floor was supported a little bit in the fact that his rushing upside will keep some of the negatives down. But I think we have to worry about the completion percentage, turnovers, and just overall rookie year. What you guys think he went where he should have, or would you have taken someone like a Derek Carr or a Matthew Stafford ahead of Anthony Richardson?
Well, let's send the question to Kyle first. Kyle,
Okay.
what's the Anthony Richardson thought process right there at 5-1?
Yeah, I would have definitely with this scoring format gone with a little bit safer. I think this may not be safe from last year, but I do think Russell Wilson's going to have a bounce back year. I think he would be better than an Anthony Richardson because we've seen a lot of Russell Wilson. We've seen a much more sample size of him than Anthony Richardson.
Mm-hmm.
You would know this, Gator. What did he play? 11 games in college as a starter? 13. Yeah. So for me, that's a little risky. I would have went Carr over him. Heck, honestly, I wouldn't take him now, but I would wait another whole round or two and go Jordan Love with his pass catchers. I like him a little bit more than it, but around the same tier though as Anthony Richardson, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm impatiently waiting for Nate Markham right here to make his pick. He's on the clock.
I hate that. I'm not a fan of this so far, and
yeah, 8 seconds. So be a fan quickly.
Yeah, I know. I just found like I really was sold. I convinced myself that at Breece Hall, for the pure upside swing of everything, it was who my pick was going to be, and then timed out. And the auto pick took Breece Hall. Not that he wouldn't have taken him anyway. I get it. He's at the top of the board. Probably means he might have been in consideration. But you like when you get, quote unquote, don't want to call it sniped, but, when someone takes the person on their own accord, not when ye old computer sticks it to you.
Yes, that's Guru. He's in the chat right now saying he's doing some other stuff with another league, which is fine. That's cool. Completely understand. Not a problem. But you are on auto, so please make sure you take yourself off before it gets back to you. And I was really fixing to come through the screen at Kyle there when he brought up Russell Wilson, because I'm like, there's no way that he's gonna do that. And then Nate's just gonna snipe me because, well, that's what you should do is be a quarterback order. And for every reason that you just said, though, Kyle, is I don't foresee the same production that we saw last year with Russell Wilson happening again this year. So
always fun when Bob comes in to talk shit to me.
Bob Harris in the chat.
Thanks, Bob.
Harris in the
Appreciate
chat.
it.
Thank you, Bob. Jorge, you're fixed to be on the clock.
Yes, sir.
After you make your pick, I want you to address the Anthony Richardson question. Okay, well, you've made your pick. The Anthony Richardson question that Nate brought up there, please.
So I think it's a situation where, of course, I'm always going to be concerned about a rookie and turning over the ball. But I think the fact it's almost like this scoring setting with the rushing attempt, 0.1 points, and the rushing first down, 0.25 points will kind of help to negate any negative points you may get from, to a certain degree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Get from his passing. But at that point, at the 5-1?
Yeah.
If your goal was to swing for a dual threat quarterback with tons of upside, I think you did not get that with Anthony Richardson. I think again, it's the negating, the rushing, negating the negatives for the passing that's going to come up big for him. So I probably would have gone with a Derek Carr. Not so much Matthew Stafford, because we know he has his games where he just goes off. But I think somebody mentioned Derek Carr. That's probably who I would have felt comfortable with there.
Yeah, Carr was the name last year in Scott Fish that was getting propped up quite a few rounds as a result of the projected, near 70% completion percentage, that if anybody was capable of doing it was him. And he let us, let us down. Collectively had an off year. And you saw by not having that, his overall point scoring by comparison was quite a bit lower. I'm ready to see just exactly how bad these running backs are going to look for me here at around the 6'10". I can't wait.
Just FYI to people, the first Warrior Bowl spot will be given away in less than 6 minutes. Once we hit the 30-minute mark of the show, first one, again, it's going to be a trivia question. You're going to hear a quote. First person to type in the chat where that's from, you get a Warrior Bowl invite.
Are you going to give any hints on whether it's a
No?
Okay.
Nope. Nope.
No hint.
What kind of coddling do you want for these people, Gator? I mean, good Lord.
Listen.
Please. Oh, and if you don't get it, we'll give you a consolation prize ribbon. You can compete in a mock draft, Scott Fishbowl mock draft number 140.
To a pig
which we highly encourage you to do.
We do definitely
with chat. And it has to be on the YouTube chat. Let's clarify that. It's got to be on the YouTube chat, right?
On the YouTube chat only. Yep. Right. I put in the street words sleeper chat a link to the YouTube show, so everybody should be watching. Mr. Scamper's D2 the Mighty Ducks final answer. I don't hate it.
I don't hate it.
It's not the right answer, but kudos to you, sir.
Did you already drop the question? Did I miss the question?
I have not dropped the question. We're waiting till it gets to 30 minutes on the live ticker right there for the show.
Okay.
I saw Scampers over in the Better Network trivia, and he was getting answers wrong over there too. So it's consistent for the evening, Scampers. You and I both, my friend. I was at a lot of negative points there, which is fun, by the way. And I'm not trying to cross promote, but on Thursday, if you guys do want to tune in, we'll be over there, hopefully getting answers correctly in representation of the Fantasy and Frames team.
Nice.
No question yet, Jamie.
Which, by the way, you may know the right answer, but if you don't type it fast enough, then sorry, but just like in Lord of the Flies, natural selection has to take its place somewhere. And
well, Jorge, since you're going to be keeping an eye on this, we got about 3 minutes or so. You are on the clock. What's going on in your head? What are we thinking here with the scoring settings compared to Scott Fishbowl? What we're doing here? I'm
going for the tight end premium. I'm getting Darren Waller, who a lot of people are saying he's jumping up there in ranking. Some people's tight end too. I know Rhett Manuel from Fourth and Frames here are basically We Cover Everything podcast is a huge fan of Darren Waller. So I'm going to get my tight end premium tight end here, assuming he stays healthy. We say that about everybody, but especially you, Mr. Waller. But I can't pass up the upside here.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Darren Waller, especially going to New York, and he would have been my pick right there, stacking him with Daniel Jones. Thanks for sniping me. I guess it's really not a real snipe, but yeah, whatever. How do you feel about rookies, especially rookie running backs, Kyle, in this scoring setting? Sitting here looking at some of these running backs that are on the board, and there's a good bit of rookies and a good bit of second-year players on the board right now. Thought process from you.
Oh, from me on the rookie running back? Bijan's about the only one that I would be willing to take. The other ones, spit some names at me real quick.
I don't want to call names off because they're still on the board, and I'm
okay.
Like rookie and second years, and not necessarily actually
Gibbs. Okay, I see. Well, the negatives in the Warrior Bowl for fumbles is what, -2, like typical draft.
It is
because that's the only thing I would worry about with a running back is fumbles. So the negatives for, I know the interceptions is -4. Mm-hmm. Fumbles, I think, are -2, right?
So a fumble and a fumble loss. So if it's a fumble loss, it's 4. So from a running back perspective is actually more likely, as I think, especially compared to, say, a quarterback, where a quarterback fumble, which happens frequently, but the fumble lost isn't as common as, say, with the running back out in space and or a wide receiver.
So here's how I view a running back then in this format. I want a bell cow. If I can get me a guy who I know is going to get the rock and get those first downs and keep turning out them yards, that's what I would target. Now, Bijan, he does fit that, but there is Tyler Algier there, and I do like me some Tyler Algier late. But that's the kind of running back I would target, is a bell cow, like a Henry, a Chubb. Austin Eckler, who catches the ball out of the backfield. I like that as well because it's 0.75 for a running back reception, right? I like that.
Yeah.
I do like that a lot. So it's a little bit of both actually. Now that I'm talking about it, I like me some pass catchers as well in the running back spot.
Yeah,
Yes.
and I've got this.
Which is why I took Eckler. There we go. See, I just looked at my team there. I took Eckler early so I can set it and forget it. He's going to get those yards on the ground. He's going to get the catches. I like a pass catching back.
All right, Gator. Sorry to interrupt, but we are at the 30-minute mark.
What's your question?
Oh, it is a quote.
Pause.
It is a
Hold
quote.
on. Just so real quick, have Gator pause the draft because he only has 30 seconds left. I was waiting for you to pause it during my pick. That's why I almost timed out.
Why didn't it? It doesn't give me the option to pause now.
Well, it's okay. I'm going to play it. I'm going to play the quote so everybody can hear. Okay. I apologize if it is super loud, but at least you don't have an excuse to not hear it. So this is the quote. The first person in the chat on YouTube that types in and presses enter and gets the right. It is a movie quote. Gets the right movie name spelled correctly. We'll get an invite to Warrior Bowl 2023. Is everybody ready? Here,
Paused.
that was more of a rhetorical question. Here is the quote.
Because we know when we add up all those inches, that's going to make the fucking difference between winning and losing. Between living and dying.
Where is that from?
What movie or show or
Boom, Mr. Scampers.
Scampers, are you already in the Warrior Bowl? I think Scampers is probably already in the Warrior Bowl. I just started the draft, but I think Scampers is already in the Warrior Bowl. If he is not, oh my God. Great job, Scampers.
People keep trying to answer the question. Scampers, are you in Warrior Bowl? Jamie, are you in Warrior Bowl?
I would be so bad at this because I do not know movies at all. I have no idea the answer. I am so bad at movies.
That answer, it was, if you look at the chat, like you said, Scampers, we'll wait and see.
How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. I love it, Chris. That's fantastic.
Way to go, Chris.
I had no clue.
Oh, the shrimp is on the clock here, so he's fixing the timeout. No.
Oh, what did you why did you start it back up?
I said I was going to start it back. He was already off the he is not in the Warrior Bowl. Mr. Scampers, you are now, if you have signed up, you are now in the Warrior Bowl.
Congratulations,
Mr. Scampers. The cat is back.
All right. I am on the clock now.
So in about most likely another 30 minutes, I'm assuming we'll probably do the second giveaway. At that point, we should, if the pace is the same, we'll be around the 14th or 15th round. Maybe we'll move it faster and it'll be a little bit later. But are you going to do the same thing, Jorge? You going to do another movie quote? You're going to do a trivia?
I think you know what, Nate?
Yeah.
It's a great question.
Okay.
There is a movie quote that I think would be apropos given who is on this panel. But if we could behind the scenes do a trivia question,
sure.
Maybe if I can get your help compiling that while we're drafting, I think that could be.
I can have that ready to go in about probably maybe 2 minutes, give or take.
That's Guru saying no more movie quotes. Got Jamie saying, "How about a boxing tournament?" Yes, that's it. That's what we're doing.
Yes, Jamie.
Now we're talking.
In person. Absolutely. Let's go.
Blindfolded boxing tournament. How about that? Let's make it even more fun.
Oh.
At the expo. Ooh. The draft will happen already by then, though, Jamie.
Yeah, but here's the thing: you get
an automatic bid to 2024s.
I was going to say you get the Warrior Bowl invite if you do a boxing match with Des Bryant. You could talk Des Bryant into getting into a boxing match with you for 1 minute, and you last on your feet for 1 minute. Warrior Bowl invite. There you go. Just kidding.
I mean, he is gonna destroy a lot of people's hopes and dreams on the flag football field at the expo because he's already said he's in. So it's gonna be
Anybody else find that weird? It's like it's kind of like him doing that, being in a flag football tournament for the Expo is kind of like when Terrell Owens was like a competitor in the challenge for MTV. Do you remember that a few years ago? It's like, why is T.O. in a MTV, show? Does nobody else remember that? Am I the only one? Anybody in the chat watch the challenge on MTV? No,
I
nobody?
haven't watched
No,
TV
did not.
since they got rid of music videos. So
Music what? I know videos.
Never mind.
What are music videos? Or I don't know what they are.
Sorry, just
Yeah,
again.
Jonathan, we are giving away one more spot that we have.
Yep, we have one more to give away, and Mr. Scamper's in the chat as well, saying, "No, I will not." Yes.
Oh, I think he would box you for calling him Desi B, because I'm pretty sure that's the nickname he has never.
No, yeah, he would definitely fight Scampers for that. But I mean, Scampers is a cat. He's got 9 lives. It's only one life.
It's okay, Stats. We're doing a trivia question next, so stay tuned for that.
What? So Stats, is that count football games as well?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, Mr. Stats Guru. You have to watch football games, right? I mean, I guess you don't have to, right?
You don't have to do anything.
Watch your phone.
You do whatever you want. Yeah, I'll tell them what to do.
Kyle, on the clock here, 30 seconds. Round number 8. Thought process. You took Dalvin Cook from me. I really thought he was going to get back to me there. With Dalvin Cook.
I was actually going to have a question for you with Dalvin Cook. My question to all of you is, right now, so he was available for me in the 7th round. If he makes it to a team by the time we do a draft here, by the time you draft for Scott Fish Bowl or for the Warrior Bowl, say he's on the Miami Dolphins, does his draft stock move up? Is it hanging around this range because it's uncertain? We don't know where he's at yet. What are your thoughts if Dalvin Cook actually is in Miami or somewhere? Does his stock go up?
Well, Jorge, you're on the clock right now. You want to go ahead and answer this while you're thinking about what you're picking, or do you want me to send it to somebody else?
No, I got.
Okay.
Do I think his stock goes up if he goes to a crowded backfield in Miami? I do not.
Okay, well, a better situation then, in your opinion.
Okay, yeah. If that's the thing, like what situation? The only situation where, for me, Dalvin Cook jumps into the first round of my drafts, and maybe not specifically speaking for Scott Fish Bowl or Warrior Bowl, but like for your home leagues or your redraft leagues come, August and whatnot. The only team that jumps to me is Dallas. If he goes to Dallas, I think he takes on the lion's share of the workload. Sorry, Tony Pollard truthers. Tony Pollard's going to be like, Tony Pollard has a fractured ankle. He's just snap. Give it. He's not exactly going to be ready to go to start the year. Tony Pollard was used sparingly last year. I don't understand the narrative like, he automatically is going to be thrust into this main role where he's getting 20 plus attempts a game. I don't think that's what he does. I don't think that's his thing. So if that's what you're expecting for a running back in Dallas, I don't think you're getting that. If Dalvin Cook goes there, I do think you're getting that, which is why I think for the volume, and we know that Schottenheimer there likes to run the ball a lot. So yeah, that would be the only instance where Dalvin Cook, I think his stock could rise.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think his stock rises no matter where he goes. Right now, I think it's insane that he's going in the 7th round.
Nate, you don't agree? What is your take on Dalvin Cook?
I mean, just being in Dallas, I don't have that much of an. I'm not that much of an anti Tony Pollard. I would say skeptic. Not that I think that that Dalvin Cook would not take, I think, the majority of the rushing share, but I wasn't sold. I mean, I like Dalvin Cook a lot. Let's not take anything away from that. But I know he was a Pro Bowler again. I know he had a good season, but there are plenty of times where he didn't break the tackles that we're used to seeing. Many of his runs were breakaway runs where he got the yardage that had a little more, when you look at the overall total yardage versus the actual yards per carry. I don't want to say those as outliers, but they were. I think Tony Pollard just has proven that in any given situation, he can still be that RB1. And
Mhm.
I'm starting to slow down my talk because I'm on the clock right now. So if you're not watching and you're just listening, I am safe. I did not have a stroke or anything. I am just trying to talk and not draft a shitty team at the same time. And unfortunately, no success because this team is garbage to me. I hate how the 0 RB guys do this is beyond me. I don't know how in the world this is a strategy that they like. I hate it. But at the same time, I realize that some of the best teams that I've drafted as at the end of the year are the ones that I hate during draft season. And
I actually like it, Nate. I
Oh,
like
thank
the
you.
zero. I know I like the 0 RB strategy.
Yeah, and I think that it can work if you have that wasn't my strategy though. That's the thing is if it's your strategy going in, I believe you adjust with different picks. Like maybe I would
I
have
agree.
went for again. I think maybe we're learning this. Maybe it's just me. Maybe someone will tell me that I'm wrong and that Dak and Tuitt 2-3 and 3-3 are very viable in this scenario, and I'm overlooking it, but I'm not 100% sold. But Jorge, going back to that, not to knock your opinion on him going to Dallas, but I don't like I think the landing spot there it might actually be better in Miami because who are the people blocking him in Miami? A couple injury prone running backs and a rookie. I mean, Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert aren't exactly the most like, but then again, Tony Pollard's also coming off of a fractured ankle, like you said, and should be ready for training camp, et cetera, et cetera. But it's hard. Like when you asked the initial question, though, you said, this is Kyle saying, will the draft stock go up or from where he's at? I think is there a landing spot where it could go down from 7-9? That's a better question.
I don't think so.
I think you're drafting him at his absolute bottom in terms of there's some, but none of the landing spots that I think would really just crater his value are viable landing spots.
Yeah, I think some of the thoughts that have been put out there, the like the New York Jets, I don't think that's really viable, right? They've got a Breece Hall, they've got 10 other running backs. They brought in all these pass catchers. So, excuse me. The thing that I wonder though, and I don't want to take all night on Dalvin Cook here, was picked 2 rounds ago, but it's a player that is 5 years into the league now, maybe even a little bit longer than that. He's an older player, and he has the right to go anywhere he wants to. At this point, he wants a ring. So instead of looking at some of these teams that are, I'm not saying Miami or Dallas, either one of them are far from getting a ring, but there's other teams that he's been linked to that aren't close to getting a ring. And I think that's something as people, we got to sit there and look at it and go, that's not even a viable option.
Yeah. I as much as I want to believe he's going to chase, go to a team that wants to win. I think that sometimes if a team offered enough money that no matter who it is, you change it. And let's be honest, the Jets realistically, as much as you say they're not a viable option, they're viable on one count. If they don't have Breece Hall to start the season, if they want to be competitive. But here's the scenario. Week 1, Buffalo. Week 2, Dallas. Week 3, New England. Week 4, Kansas City. Week 5, Denver. Week 6, Philly. Week 7, New York. Week 8, LA, the Chargers. And then the Raiders and the Bills again. Their schedule is horrendous. And if they can't stay ahead, they're out of it by week 8.
Yep.
Before Breece Hall can even really get cruising and help carry them to a playoff spot. But go on. Move past Dalvin Cook and find another topic there, Gabe.
Sorry
That's my
for
fault. No. Yeah, Kyle, way to go.
Yeah, way to go, Kyle. That's good.
Great topic because, again, he's a polarizing figure, and much like Anthony Richardson earlier, with him not having a team at this point. At the 9-10, Kyler Murray finally getting off the board there. What do you expect from Kyler Murray this year, Kyle?
I don't know if I can trust it. First of all, is he healthy? And when he does come back, if he comes back, there's when, there's an injury involved that's very serious. When he does come back, if he does come back. Anyway, where I'm trying to get at is, are the Cardinals going to be even relevant by the time he's even coming back? Wouldn't it be smart for them to maybe let Kyler get completely healthy before they even insert him back? Because there's a reason for maybe the Cardinals to tank for Caleb Williams, is there not?
There is.
I think so.
Yeah. So I'm not taking a lot of shares of Kyler Murray for that reason. I love him as a player, though. Like, if he was completely healthy, that dude is a fantasy beast.
So,
Mr. Scampers, you just put in the chat Dalvin Cook to New England, for putting that out into the universe and potentially ruining my Ramondre Stevenson shares. You just lost yourself.
Yep, I knew you were going to do that. I knew you were going to take it back. Now we have 2 more spots to give away.
Just kidding, Mr. Scampers.
So Billy Mooch, who I'm assuming is the same one that's drafting at the 3 spot there, took Kyler Murray at 9-10. Nate, he asked, do people normally take or often take 3 quarterbacks by round 9? I don't know that they do. I don't hate it, though, with it being Kyler Murray, because if something happens and Kyler Murray does come back and does play, which I'm saying he's not playing at all this year, but if he does come back and play and he is successful, that's probably going to be one of the steals of the draft. But do most people, or does it often happen with 3 quarterbacks by round 9 in the Warrior Bowl?
Often, no. I would say that the majority don't, and I think that's evidence in this draft too. Is that
that's good, because I didn't do it.
two teams that did it now, and I'll say Team 12 at Chef Mike Rowe taking Stroud, Love, and Richardson. That's a little more viable in the fact that it's 3 wild card quarterbacks. Having Jalen Hurts as your 1, I think, offsets the need to have that 3rd. But I understand the value spot there. Like, for me, if you're going to take a 3rd, I would rather have him as my 3rd than Sam Howell or Mac Jones or some of the guys that went after. But I understand that. I understand the upside. I like it more if you're not starting off with Jalen Hurts, if you have 3 middle tier, more so. Let's see.
Where are you at there, Jorge?
So it's Billy Much, not Mooch, apparently. That's we spelled it, which is very confusing. Like, why just not get rid of the T and just make everybody... But whatever, I understand.
Well, probably his last name, you jerk.
Yeah,
I know. I mean, like, he's had some time to get rid of the T, I would imagine. I'm just kidding. Just kidding, Billy.
His
Billy.
parents
Change your name for our sake, so we don't get your name wrong. Billy.
Yeah, his parents are just like mine. That mine is Jason, Jayson. I mean, they added a Y in the middle just to confuse people.
Is your dad's name Jay?
No, it's
Not?
Randy.
Oh, damn it! I wish your name was Randyson. Randyson. Here, Mac and after dark. That's how I picture you saying it too.
I would only do that. That would only do that on the radio. That way you couldn't see me do it, Nate. That just.
Yeah, Randerson here. We're mocking after drunk.
Mocking after drunk. There's
mocking after drunk. Yep, that's exactly what we're doing.
I would like to hear Nate do that all draft. Just talk like that.
We should do a thing on a. We should do a thing on our shows where each show we pick an accent to do, and everybody does like an accent for that show.
I only have one.
Let's piss off an entire segment of people when it gets
yeah.
Well,
everybody loves when you do that.
He pisses them all off every time.
Speaking of pissing people off, Billy Much is back. Phonetically Much? No, but I see what you did there, Billy Much. Phonetically Much. Very good.
Well, Mike wants to hit him up after the show.
The show, Randerson.
Yep, it is. You do know that you are now Randerson. All right, let's see. Who would Randyson take? That's a good question. Obviously, back-to-back Gibson and Samaje Perine makes me feel a little better about the running back position. Not great, but a little bit better. Randy Randerson would go pure upside
Mm-hmm.
at wide receiver, and he would love to take a healthy
No.
Michael Thomas.
No freaking way you pulled that out of your ass.
Why? I pulled out.
Exactly who I was going after right there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Almost went for
I
it
mean-
around earlier. That is insane. Great job there, Nate, because that is exactly
you.
what I was looking at.
Excellent.
Sorry.
Nate is good at this. He really is good at this because he said last week that he could probably draft Drew's team from round, what'd you say, rounds 10 to the end or 6 to the end? You basically know.
4 to the end. He varies up his first and second.
Drew's easy to pick. Drew knows what he's Nate has Drew all over. He's
Yeah. But I wish like
just
so-
put me on tilt with that. Why you
we had good.
on everything. Screw that, Nate. I'm gonna go. Screw it. Damn it.
But look, I mean, what are you worried? I mean, you have 4 good receivers already.
Gator, I had him queued up for my next pick if that makes you feel better.
You're welcome.
Jorge, let me ask you a question.
Sir, go for it, man.
I want to go back, and this is a pick 3 rounds ago, and I don't feel like I have enough conviction in Jahan Dotson, but the more I read, the more people are convinced that Dotson will overtake Terry McLaurin as the potential number 1 in Washington. Is there traction? Do you believe that, or no? So I mean, sell me on, or you don't have to sell me, but why the push for Dotson? I mean, I clearly know why. I mean, we saw last year that he's more than capable of putting up solid seasons and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Well, I think what you can take away from last year, granted, look, it's not wise to chase touchdowns year after year, and that's kind of where he had his bread and butter. He was just so damn efficient scoring touchdowns. But his separation, his ability to get open, he's very quarterback friendly. And given the status of Sam Howell, younger quarterback, inexperienced in the league, I mean, that's kind of like your best friend. Terry McLaurin, though, is the captain. He is the leader. He is the guy we rally behind for Washington as Commanders fans. He is always going to be Mr. Can do everything. Whereas Dotson this year seems like the player who's like, I'm going to get you out of jam. Basically, how I view it is Dotson is I'm going to get you out of a jam wide receiver and maybe do something pretty fancy. McLaurin's like, I'm going to take it home for you, if that makes any sense at all.
It makes sense. I do understand. And I don't know if that's something that will change, if that is Jacoby Brissett or if that's Sam Howell. I don't know if one quarterback versus the next, it has a huge variance on as a result.
Well, I don't know, man. I mean, it's an unknown situation in Washington with the Commanders. It reminds me a little bit of Green Bay's situation. You don't know what you got at the quarterback. What you do know is you got some good receiving options around them. You have a good defense. You have a in between good and bad offensive line. So it really, and you have a tandem at running backs. So it's really an interesting situation here. Looking at the Packers and the Commanders as a comparison with one another. So anybody who tells you they know Howell is going to tear it up, they don't know. Brissett, we know what he could do, and that is not screw things up totally. It is QB1. Sam Howell, he has been dubbed QB1 after OTAs and camps. And so it's just a wait and see, but the talent around him is just so damn good. It's going to be, I don't think you're going to go wrong getting Dotson where you got him. We're just drafting him at all this year. But to take over as the number 1, I don't see that happening.
What are we getting ready to say? Get it?
LSU just won a national championship in baseball. Congratulations, LSU, for doing that. They deserved it. I just turned my TV off. Yeah, they just did exactly what Florida did to them yesterday. So congratulations to LSU, all the LSU fans, and especially to you, Rhett Manuel.
Oh,
of our Fourth and Frames family over there on
my brother-in-law and father-in-law went to the games the past couple days as a Father's Day gift.
Oh,
It was
Nice.
it was well deserved by LSU. They played awesome in those games, so great job for them.
They also have probably the number 1 and number 2 pick overall on the
They
MLB draft next year.
And Florida has a 3 and 4, or vice versa. However they want to.
They'll probably have 3. Their outfielder. Yeah,
that center fielder is probably going to go in top 5. And then you've got the first base pitcher, all do it all from the bat. So it's going to be interesting. Those two teams were very, very good. Well deserved for the Tigers there. As Chris in the chat says, go Tigers. Good job, LSU. All SEC title yet again. It doesn't matter if it's football or baseball. It's all SEC. All the time.
I mean,
what?
It kind of does. I mean, it does kind of matter. Like, whatever. Anyhow, I'm digressing. I'm giving you a hard time. My bad.
Yeah, it's all good. Oh, Jorge, you took Sam Laporta right there in that last round. Are you thinking that he is? Well, I mean, he's definitely going to be tight end 1 there in Detroit. With this, 1.5, are you going to play him in your flex if the way it's laid out right now with what your team has going forward?
I mean, currently in my flex spots, I have Brian Robinson, James Cook, and my super flex Geno Smith. So yeah, I'll throw him in there. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. Like, everything about him has been super positive. So yeah, I'm all on board the train there. Okay, this is for you, Jamie. Yep. If you're in the chat still, got you some Roshan Johnson love right there.
Jesus.
I'm just glad I didn't have to explain my Desmond Ritter pick.
Oh, don't you worry. We ain't got that far yet.
It's coming. Yeah, I figured. I got it right.
You know what? I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think that I'm necessarily drinking the Desmond Ritter Kool-Aid, but if there's a chance that he can be, I would say, efficient and have an above average touchdown percentage, because I think that Bijan and very likely the running game is going to minimize a lot of that upside. The weapons he has and the ability for any one of those weapons, like there's a decent chance that on any given pass play to either, of course, Bijan, Drake, and or Kyle Pitts, they could take it to the house. And in turn, he might not have the 3. I don't think he'll have a single 300-yard passing game. I think he'll be lucky to have multiple 250-yard passing games. But a 230-yard, 3-touchdown game is something it wouldn't absolutely floor me. I'm not banking on it, but I think that is one of the problems. You have to pick which week that would be, and I don't think you can do that. You're hoping it's the bye week for you is when you would have men.
Well, luckily, he is my QB3, so
Correct.
that was So that's the only reason why. And to top it off, I'm like looking at it like, okay, I have Josh Allen. Is the Madden curse real? Well, in case it's real, I'm going to go ahead and get somebody here because I don't think anybody serviceable is going to come back. So I was looking at him or Cole Kmet, who just went. Mm-hmm. So that's what I was looking at. So I was like, well, let me just go ahead and get somebody just to fill in case something horrible happens to one of my guys at quarterback.
Gator, that brings up an interesting question that I have for a lot of people in Superflex leagues when the point scoring is so skewed to be negative from the quarterback position. Everything's against the quarterback here in reality. 4-point passing touchdown versus 6. Minus points for interceptions, pick 6, sacks. Does the secondary, the Superflex spot sometimes might be best used instead of having a third quarterback and someone that may be, in a tight end premium and or a running back or receiver if you go heavy enough? Is that something we've overlooked in this mock, is maybe that second quarterback in the Superflex isn't as important?
Well, maybe you have. I haven't. I mean, I look at it like this. When you think about some of these quarterbacks, if they sack fumble, they get a turnover.
Mm-hmm.
That's just alone. That's what a negative 5 points right there. You're not making that up with a touchdown pass, right? So it's not conducive to winning with negative points. It just doesn't happen. Usually it doesn't happen unless you can outscore. A -1 is better than a -2. I'll give you that. But usually negative points do not give you a win. And ultimately that's what we're looking at doing. So yeah, I in a 4-point passing with all the negative scoring, I would rather have that second, maybe even that late second tier, or that the second half of that, the top 24-ish. I'll go ahead and go down there because I think that honestly the if I can capitalize correctly on wide receiver and running back, I am going to be able to outproduce any quarterback that's going to get a sack or anything along those lines. And I won't. Again, I will sit. Oh, I took Alan Lazard. That's fine. That's fine. I'll take Alan Lazard because again, he is a wide receiver that's going to catch the ball. There's not going to be very much negative scoring out of the 13-4 spot there, and I'm fine with that.
Gotcha. But before you go any further, let's go ahead.
Time?
And it is time to give away the second Warrior Bowl giveaway. Remember, if you're going to answer and you want to win, number one, you have to be registered for the Warrior Bowl. And two, you can't already be in the Warrior Bowl. You do not get 2 picks. You can't give it away.
Do you want me to pause the draft in here?
Yes.
We'll wait and we'll let Jonathan make. Oh, never mind. Sorry, Jonathan. you will wait, and what we'll do is just like last time. We have this time. It is a sports trivia question. It's football trivia. Let's narrow it down. There's your hint, Gator. You want to give hints to everybody?
No, I didn't give out hints.
So you wanted a hint, so we gave one. It is a football trivia. The first person to do a Sean Connery voice perfectly. Exactly. I don't know how to do it, so I'm not going to try it. But if you can answer, when you answer this in writing form, you imagine we will read it in Sean Connery's voice. At the count of 3,
Nate will read it in Sean Connery's voice.
I will not, but I will play it in my head. If everybody's ready, this is for giveaway number 2. Who was 2022's NFL Defensive Player of the Year?
Love the IDP aspect you just brought in. Thank you, Nate.
You're welcome.
And how many people in chat play IDP? 1, 2, 3. No,
I need to play IDP to know Defensive Player of the Year, potentially, but I would admit I might not have known it either.
One more time, Nate. Repeat the question.
The 2022 NFL Defensive Player of the Year was.
You have to say it in Sean Connery's voice, right?
Sucker.
There it is. Yes.
Yes.
Oh, we got that's not spelled correctly. So
not the right answer anyway.
There it is.
That's still not spelled correctly.
That is. What are you talking about?
There's too many. A lot of not spelling this correctly, folks. I don't know how else to put it to you. Wow, Jesus Christ! That's true. Thank you.
Which one?
It is.
I think it's this one right here.
I feel bad. That's so tough one.
Wait, who is it? Well, technically,
even this spelling. Because here's the thing. So stop, real quick.
You said the spelling didn't matter earlier,
right?
You said it didn't matter, and then here's the reason I not want Billy to win, but I think is if you read this, it says
Bosha,
which is how you would say it if it was Sean Connery. Nick Bosha.
Oh my gosh!
So he not only spelled it in the Sean Connery, like phonetically speaking, the answer was correct. Now I know that I'm sorry, Stats Guru, you were right behind it, and
we also have
Wahaj. Yep, Malik.
Yep.
Me personally, I believe his intent, and I'm now basing it off intent, was that he spelled it in the way that Sean Connery would enunciate it which is Bosha,
Walsha.
which is better when Sean Connery says it than me.
And you said spelling didn't matter, so he's
And Scampers agrees. He was spelling it Connery phonetically, which is true. I thought he wanted it spelled like Connery. So, I mean, you see, Jorge, I'm not the only one that thought that. I think they're.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to let you decide the winner of this one, please.
I
It
think
is Billy Much, if you will. Not Mooch, you idiots. You've already made
That's Gator. Don't put that on me. That's Gator who said much, not me.
the T threw me off. I was
Touche.
like, I got confused on the T. I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna say it now.
Oh, and Billy's a Niners fan.
Oh,
So, yeah.
Get off the screen.
There we go.
And you know what? I got to do something nice for him after, my Chiefs beat their ass in the Super Bowl. So,
Congrats,
Billy, congratulations.
Wow.
You having a Super Bowl victories. Hopefully you're older than 30, so you could have at least been, active during most of them.
Billy, I know we have chatted on Twitter and Scampers both. Please send me your stuff. Send a DM to it. You can either send it to me at FantasyJ77 or send it to the Fantasy in Frames. DM us. That way we can make sure we get all of your information over to the Warrior Bowl for your invites to be sent out to you. Billy, Scampers, congratulations. I've enjoyed that very much. All right, let's get back to this mock. We're going to resume now. Jonathan is on the clock. Jonathan Jimenez is on the clock.
and
Nate,
take your time, Jonathan, because I have no idea what I'm going to do.
Nobody
Right?
does.
Nate, I agree 100%. Billy should have won that. He did it in the Connery voice. He spelled it phonetically.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It was.
Jorge was just,
yeah.
Jorge was just being Jorge.
He is,
Speaking of being Jorge is not going to be here anymore because I have my niece visiting and she's been waiting up to see Uncle Jorge. So I got to bounce out, but I'll still be in the draft and I'll still be running the chat.
Jorge,
So-
before you leave, tell the good
Yes.
people where they can find you, please.
Find me on Twitter at Jorge B. Edwards. But I would rather you follow at Fantasy in Frames on Twitter as well as everywhere else on social. Like our YouTube channel, please. If you like what you've seen so far, hit that notification bell. And of course, head over to fantasyinframes.com for all of our articles and rankings in our brand new Scott Fishbowl ADP page.
Absolutely. Thank you, Jorge, for joining us tonight. We will see you on the next one, hopefully.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Tell your niece we all said hey.
Yes.
And when you're out here, just turn the sound down so we can talk about you and your team.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Enjoy the family time. Enjoy the family time.
Y'all have a good night.
Good night,
Yep.
Jorge.
see you, Bob.
All right, Nate. Jorge is gone. He can't
Mhm.
hear us. I mean, his team is absolutely horrible. It's dog shit. What are we doing over there?
He has Isaiah Pacheco, so he's already got at least one positive spot.
And McKinnon.
Yeah, he's no idiot. Take the backfield of the highest scoring offense in football, and good things should happen. Doesn't hurt.
Ton of
when-
running backs. Jorge has.
Yeah, you start getting Bijan there at 2.7 was a good starting point. Let's see if there's anything that really, necessarily stands out with this team. And I think the receiving core, of course, when you're starting 3 wide receivers, and his 3 are his only 3 so far, he's going to dedicate these next 2 to 3 picks, I would assume, at the wide receiver position, because last thing you need to do is, obviously have to go to the waiver wire as soon as the draft's over to fill in a key spot, at least a starting, a 3-spotter. That's a term for multiple positions, by the way, I guess I just made up. But like you said, the running back depth is definitely incredible. And then throwing in Darren Waller for good measure.
Yeah, he's good. He doesn't have to look at another running back if he doesn't want to for the rest of the draft.
He probably won't. I think it's 19 rounds.
Mhm.
Juwan Johnson, actually, I really like there, especially where given this. I know every year we've said tight end is just garbage, and maybe it still is, and maybe we get hyped. Maybe the idea of, a $5 bill in your pocket is just a $5 bill. A $5 bill on the ground that you find is the most magical thing ever. And maybe that's what Juwan Johnson is, and some of these guys late, Dawson Knox, Gerald Everett, Tyler Higbee, is maybe they are just, you think it's gonna be able to buy more things, buy more candy or treats than what they'll actually deliver. But is it just me, or do you guys think that tight end might actually be a little bit deeper than what it has been in the past?
I'll let Kyle answer this since I'm on the clock. Go ahead, Kyle.
Yeah, there's been a lot more viable tight ends as of late. Looking at it this year, like Juwan Johnson, Gerald Everett, he's proved that he could be serviceable as a tight end too. Sam Laporta for Jorge is a rookie. We don't know what he's going to be, but he has a lot of news coming out on him. He's supposed to be a pass catching tight end for the Lions. Cole Kmet, he's only steadily improved his game. Pat Fryermuth, same thing. Dalton Schultz is supposed to get a lot of rep there in Houston now with the rookie quarterback there. We've seen what he did in Dallas. So yeah, I think the tight end used to be like years ago, like there was just 2-3 tight ends, and then it was crap the rest of the way. Mm-hmm. So yeah, even late in the draft, you can find maybe somebody who's going to get you 500 yards on the season.
Yeah, they were prodders, and they would get 2 to 3 yards, stay in line, block, get out, catch catch 3 passes for 44 yards. That was kind of the tight end metric that people were looking at. And now you have people like Dulcich and Juwan Johnson, and even like Laporta, and the guys that are capable of yak and breaking tackles, being explosive. And I think these guys can be highly, more incorporated in that offense. And I mean, it just keeps going.
And I do like to find a tight end that is playing with a rookie at quarterback, because they do seem to look for them on third down. So you might get that catch for a first down from that tight end. So he might get you, 10, 12 points late round draft like this. If you need him in a bye week, you're good. Yeah,
exactly. And I think the collective by everybody in the chat is that, I think it's the $5 looks appealing when it's on the ground, not yours, or wrapped in turd, I believe is what the other.
Yes, the $5 the tight end wrapped in a turd right here does not look like a $5 bill on the ground.
But we would all pick it up and wash it off.
Right. You're absolutely correct. Here's the thing with tight ends for me is, you have to remember it takes a couple years for tight ends to be productive.
Yeah.
This last year and what we think is coming out, or what we think has come out this year with Laporta and Kincaid, and then of course what's possibly going to come out next year may not take that 3-year process. 2.5, 3-year process. You may see them produce in the first year or two. I think bullshits what Fryermuth, what Laporta, Chigaquanquo, these guys that are falling a little bit further down the board, even like a Cole Kmet, 3 years in the league, is now starting to produce. These tight ends are, somebody put it in there a little bit ago, that the tight ends are going to be like kickers. They may be, in this scoring, I think it's probably going to be more like tight ends are going to be tight ends. Right? It's not going to be to one extreme or the complete other because of the negative scoring. Now, in Scott Fishbowl, tight ends are going to be way better than kickers in most instances, unless you're playing on MFL.
Mm-hmm.
That could be the change right there. But in this format, with the negative scoring, unless a tight end has 3 fumbles in a game, it's just not going to happen. Scampers brought it up a little bit ago. You remember this guy from last year, from early in the season. Will Dissly was outstanding early in the season for Seattle. And then for whatever reason, whether it was Tyler Lockett, whether it was DK Metcalf, whether it was Kenneth Walker, just kind of, fell off the map. I know he got injured, but he just kind of was gone. Just that's, a few spike weeks.
Yeah, when you get to this stage of the game with tight ends, they're like scratch-off lottery tickets. You might hit, like Will Disley that one year.
A $5 scratch-offers again.
Yeah. So
we're scratching damn.
So go ahead and get like 7 of them, and maybe you'll hit on one, Gator. Who knows?
I don't hit on any tight ends. I don't hit on any tight ends. That's why I take the best tight end to start with, and that's going to be Njoku. And if I can get him in the 9th round, I'm fine with that.
That's fair.
Yeah, and going back to the little $5 talk, if I'm going to incorporate that into something that you can use wisely, is if you are not in Scott Fishbowl. I know we gave away the entry to Jamie Parag.
Yes.
So the $5 you could do is you could enter the Underdog Scott Fishbowl Satellite League, and the $5 would go to charity, poop and all. And you would then potentially enter a chance to get into Scott Fishbowl next year, guaranteed. No stress next year whatsoever. No concern. You'll be probably within those first couple waves. You can post your I got in, sit back, relax as the rest of your friends stress, and you get to, number 1, support a charity, and number 2, have a chance to play in Scott Fishbowl. So yeah, I would say take that 5, go over to Underdog, so basically you can also go to Twitter and you can follow everything Scott has on his account. That's at ScottFish24. He will have the links to get in, and you can utilize all of that to win your chance in.
And if I'm not mistaken, it's unlimited. You can enter as many of those as you want to.
Yeah, to the best of my knowledge.
Yeah. So if you want to, if you want to spend, if you want to buy into 1, or if you want to buy into 10, or if you want to buy into 50 of them at $5 a pop.
The top 250 teams.
Gator, you got 7 seconds. You know that, right?
No.
Okay.
I'm taking a kicker, so it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Oh,
well, isn't that well? Go ahead. Did you want to finish up your?
No, I just want to let everybody know that there is that $5 that you are putting in there. It all goes to Fantasy Cares. Every cent of that goes to Fantasy. Underdog does not take a rake, as far as I know, and so it all goes to Fantasy Cares. It is just for one entry, or it's 250. What 250 entries you said, Nate? Right? Total.
No, the top 250 entries get into Scott Fishbowl 14.
250 get into the 2024 Scott Fishbowl, so which would be Scott Fishbowl 14. Nate, you're on the clock. Go ahead.
I know. I'm just looking here, and I don't really have I went the Jeff Wilson route in case Dalvin Cook doesn't go there, and I think he's the leader. I think that now I back up, and this brings up an interesting topic that I'm not. I don't know if we don't talk about enough or don't need to talk about it. Is the quote unquote handcuff to your own running back? I have J.K. Dobbins, the J.K. Dobbins conversation about him not being happy with his contract, etc. If in the case he doesn't, there's disgruntled, or he hasn't exactly been the epitome of health. Gus Edwards is more than capable, more than viable. I think that too much of both of them hurts both their stock. But if there was a reason Gus Edwards had to step on the field in the full-time role, his 5 yards per carry for his career does translate to production. So from a 16th round pick, you could do worse, I would say.
Yeah, I can't hate on that. Running backs they're fragile. They get hurt more than I would say any other position. Mm-hmm. And so this late in the game, I can't really hate on you for doing that. Because, Justice Hill could though interfere with some of that. He could. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, Gus Edwards, we've seen what he can do. We haven't seen as much of Justice Hill. So, I mean, it would be this. Yeah, I mean, I can see where you're going with that. I was going to send a question over to both of you because it started with Jorge, and I'm coming up quick because I'm going to get this question out. Jorge started the kicker in the 16th round, and then Gator took Evan McPherson, Homer. For the Gator, right? Yeah. Isn't it a little tad early for this type of like Scott Fish Bowl? I could see it, but the Warrior Bowl, which is pretty much a standard, is that a little early to you, Nate?
At this point, I mean, I think that if you can make a case that Justin Tucker will outscore the number 12 kicker by 1.5 points a game, I think something to that effect maybe, is more so than any of my bench spots that I'm going to randomly start versus any of your bench spots. And unless you have an ideal, just stand out, like can't miss pick. I get he backed up his pick, Jorge, that is with Nakua. And I know there's a case to be made that maybe he takes a step forward and establishes himself as that number 2 next to Cooper Kupp. Maybe 2.5 along with Higbee because he'll get his targets. But I don't have a problem. There's only 2 more rounds too. There's only 19 rounds in this mock. And like in Scott Fish's, which is 22 rounds. And if that was a single kicker format, then yeah, I would say 6 rounds prior might be a tad early. That's just my belief as far as how I draft my kickers, given the volatility of finishes and the lack of separation between 1 and 12, but I don't know. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I don't care. Hey, draft however you want. You can make a case, but the kicker, like Mike says, you want accuracy, and with Justin Tucker, who is extremely accurate, a 20-yard miss is -5, and
I did not catch that. Okay,
and that's huge.
Yeah.
Now, the point after attempt being -4 is another nasty one, because I can tell you start looking at some of these kickers and no one wants to think about it now because it doesn't affect you now. Week 5, when your kicker which I saw Harrison Butker miss more extra points than I know what to do with, but yet when you look at the total numbers, it's not that crazy. Oh, could you imagine losing a week when you're going into Monday night? This is going to separate into a separate category and separate question that I want you guys to answer. You're going into Monday night. You are trailing by 5. You get 8 points out of your kicker on some long field goals, and then he misses an extra point towards the end of the game, and you lose your fantasy matchup because of the -4. Number 1, how horrible is that? Number 2 is this is the second. This is the real question. Gator and Kyle both. I know. Sorry, Mike. Going flashbacks of Butker. You were up by 1
Nate,
point.
you sold me on the kicker, so I went ahead and took.
There you go. And you took a good one. You took a pretty solid one.
And you got a good one.
What do you do if you're going into Monday night and you're up by 1? Do you think it's cool and acceptable to bench your kicker?
No, you have to. You put a starting lineup in. Period. The end.
See, I don't know. I think you should be able to. You know what? It depends on the rules. How about that? Some have it where you have to do that, like Gator said, and so if they don't state the rules, and you have to do a starting lineup top to bottom, then I think it's perfectly okay to play within the rules and bench that kicker to guarantee the W.
Interesting. I am in favor of, again, like you just said, whatever the rules give you. If I can find a competitive edge, I'm going to go ahead and use it. I know there's some, I don't know. I don't want to. It's gamesmanship, is what it is.
Absolutely, it is, and that's why I said you should. But if the rule permits you or able to, dude, you're trying to win.
Yeah,
you play
to win the game.
Yeah, that's why I'm sitting that motherfucker. I ain't taking a chance to risk it.
And I'm not, as much as it would suck, and I would sit there and yell at you in the chat. You have every right to do that.
See, now I'm on Gator's shit list because I'm okay with it.
No, I'm okay with it. It just sucks that the rules allow for that, right? Like, but again, this is where you have, as your league, you have to set that. There's got to be a precedence to it, and once that precedence happens, that's what next year you won't be allowed to do that.
Exactly, and that's exactly what would happen. Man, I hate this pick.
While Nate's on the clock here, I want to go back with the previous conversation about the $5 for the underdog Scott Fishbowl draft, or the what do they call them? Qualifiers. Drop the Mic is saying there's a max 150 entries. So that's what we were talking about there. Jamie, he was asking about, he had to go and use the little girls' room, and he didn't know where the $5 went. And that goes to Fantasy Cares. Every bit of it goes to Fantasy Cares. So Jamie, that's where that goes. If you're not in a state where underdog is allowed, I would highly recommend you get a VPN. That's the only thing I
thought you were going to say move to a state that allows it.
That too. That would be the other one. But the VPN would probably be cheaper. So,
if you live in a state that doesn't allow it, I'm interested to find out if there's a way that Scott would let you draft with it. I don't want to create chaos. People are going to bombard his messages and ask him, because here I'd draft with do I have to take a kicker, don't I?
No, you don't have to, but whatever. Okay.
I'll take Rodrigo. Why not?
That's another strategy that people do is they don't take a kicker.
Yeah.
They just to see how it plays out, and then you drop and pick one up.
Exactly. And that's another rule, that if you're forced to draft, like there's times when, depending upon the defensive scoring metrics.
Hang on 1 second. Jamie, this is not supporting us. This is supporting Fantasy Cares. This is what Scott's doing with Fantasy. He did it last year with Underdog. They did best ball to get into this year's. So it's not supporting us. Please don't. This has nothing to do with us. We are just promoting what Scott and everybody with Scott Fishbowl is doing 100% with Underdog. They are doing a best ball. It's a $5 entry. If you win the best ball, your league or top 250 rather, or 150, I guess it is, you get into Scott Fishbowl 14 next year automatically. So again, it's not for us. It is absolutely 100% Fantasy Cares. So, and even if you don't get in, donate to Fantasy Cares. That's what it's all about.
Exactly. And yeah, I mean, hell, we're ending. The draft is pretty shaping up to an extent. I don't want to say like I saw. I think that it was pretty close. I mean, a couple spots changing here and there from what we've done 125 times, Gator, which is when you go in, man, like, are the Scott Fishbowl ADPs just rattling in your brain of where they should be, and comparing and contrasting and seeing some of the running backs lasting a little, like the RB2s, or not RB2s, but the bottom of the first tier and second tier of running backs did go a little bit later. You see Eckler going at 2.9, Bijan at 2.7, Taylor, Chubb, Henry, et cetera, are kind of where they have been going. But I wonder why the drop on Austin Eckler.
Well, I think this is when you're comparing it from what the SFB 13 scoring is compared to what this scoring is. I think that's where that drop is. I think when you look at it, I mean, we still had 7 quarterbacks go in the first round, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, that's where I expected.
In Scott Fishbowl, there's going to be somewhere in that 7 to 8 range, 9 range maybe in that first round, and then you're going to have another 4 come back. Austin Eckler, I think the biggest difference between this scoring and the SFB scoring is going to be that 0.25 per carry. In this scoring, it's 0.1.
Sure.
Right? So there is the difference in scoring is going to push some people down the board and is going to elevate some others up the board.
Yeah, if I could redo that Austin Eckler pick, maybe I would have done Nick Chubb because he's going to get the bulk of the carries. Maybe I would have done Nick Chubb instead of Eckler in this type of format. No, Nate, you think I made the right pick?
I think you did. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. There's some negatives and some cons that people are coming up with as far as Austin Eckler. And it's the same thing we kind of heard going into last year. And I know that Austin Eckler himself said it last year that, yeah, they're going to find a goal line back. I'm not going to get all the touches. They'd be smart to split the workload. Everything he said that was nuanced towards him not being a lead again, or giving us every reasons to doubt him, was proven wrong. And I think the same thing, maybe one more year. I know they were talking about, bringing someone in again and him maybe not being on the team. And there was a lot of factors. I think that he's just one of those special backs that you got at a great spot. And
that's why I jumped on it. Yeah.
Because I think it's a great opportunity. And you were still able to get your quarterback too. And I think you did fine with your receivers as a whole. Obviously, running back is going to be the one thing that as soon as Dalvin Cook lands, you probably got value there too, unless it's just a situation that we haven't thought of yet, which I can't imagine what that would be.
Right.
I mean, yeah, exactly. Dalvin Cook, Zeke Elliott, something like that pops up over there.
I mean, unless he does something crazy stupid and goes to like Green Bay, like
yeah. Which won't happen,
Right. I wouldn't think.
No, exactly.
No, I mean, I think we had a great draft. We will be doing a lot more of these Warrior Bowl mocks as they come up. Again, we've only got a couple weeks until the slow drafts start for Scott Fish Bowl. So we've been hammering those that we're at like 127, 28. I'm probably fixing to drop another one into the chat. Hint, hint.
I know you are. Don't worry. And I'm getting ready to go sign back up too.
I'm probably going to jump in there too.
Hint, 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 hint. But I will be dropping some more Warrior Bowl mocks in the draft here very, very shortly over the next day or two to start getting this ready. I believe, I don't know the exact date that they start drafting, but I know that the email started coming out today for your division and that sort of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
With the Warrior Bowl. So hopefully everybody is getting those. Mr. Scampers, Billy, thank you so much. Everybody, thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Congratulations, Billy and Mr. Scampers. Nate, tell the good people where they can find you tonight.
Well, you can probably find me over in the Mocking After Dark. I got, it's a nice thing to rest my head too as I lay down. Dream of mock draft ADP and getting sniped on players like Antonio Gibson and Breece Hall, etc. But at Nate Markham, all of our rankings should be coming out soon. Thursday, you can find me over at Front Yard Fantasies. At 2:00, I'll be on their guest on their show. And then that night is the Shoot the Gap podcast. And maybe might make an appearance on Fourth and Frames, waiting upon Jorge's availability there, where our friend Andy Behrens joins the pod.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Kyle, what's good?
Catch me at KZ1180 here on Twitter. Also, Mock After Dark every Monday night. I'm making it happen. You can also catch me in the Gator mock drafts that he comes up with throughout the day. I'm in there a lot. Gator's like, dang, Kyle, leave it to the people. But I'm in there. So I'm there. Hit me up there. Yeah, that's where you'll find me, Gator.
Man, you can find me at FantasyJ77 over there on Twitter. You can find me all over Fantasy and Frames. And I am dropping right now. I just dropped it. Scott Fishbowl 13.
See, I'm on it right now.
Mock 128, Nate. 128 mocks we have done. Insane. Please, both of you, share those on Twitter. I don't have time to do it. I am going to be going to bed here very, very shortly, but I've got to get this draft started. Want to say goodnight to everybody, but I want to tell y'all what we got coming this week on the Fantasy and Frames Network. We've got Wednesday night. We've got Dynasty 365. That's at 8:00. We have what Fourth and Frames at 9 this week, I believe, on Wednesdays. We've got 2 shows again on Thursday with Shoot the Gap, and Fourth and Frames is doing their second show this week. Hey Kyle, what's your availability this weekend? I'm not saying we're going to, but I'm just saying, we might sneak in another one.
What day? What day are we talking?
I don't know. Maybe we'll leave that up to maybe we'll just leave it at that. Guys, great night. Y'all have fun. This is Fantasy and Frames, Mocking After Dark. And guess what? We are